You know, it's not every day that you get to have an opportunity like this to kind of kick something off, something new. We've been working on this for a while, so I asked somebody, can we have a grand opening, even though we've been working at it for about a year, and they said we could. Well, I'm glad we did, because we had an opportunity to get a friend of mine in a place, Mr. Mayor, to come talk to us. I want to introduce a friend of mine, Mayor Greg Fischer. He's also a fellow Henry County farmer. He has a farm just up the road, right there on, where is it? Do you know where it is? It's down that way, he said. It's 17 acres. He said he ain't seen it for a little while. He's been otherwise occupied a little bit. But Mayor Fischer is going to talk about developing a regional food economy and how Capstone and our farmers can play into that. With that, Greg, come on up.
All right, thank you, David. David and I have been friends for several years, so about 2 years ago, he said, Greg, I've got a dream. I want to share my vision with you. I'm like, oh gosh, you know David Neville, there's no telling what's coming next after that. So I think we were driving down to Owensboro or somewhere, so I put my seatbelt on and said, let me hear it. So he started talking about what he wanted to do here in terms of the next brand Capstone produce auction. I said, that's great, because local foods, farm-to-market activity really has been gaining tremendous momentum, and I just said, you know, he's a little crazy, we all know that. He's a great entrepreneur. I just said, how can I help? How can I help? So I'm delighted to be here today. I came when you were just about to close on this piece of property as well, so you cleaned it up, and it's looking really good. I appreciate that. Congratulations to you. We need more entrepreneurs like you. Well done. Let's hear it for David Neville. Now, Louisville. I'm sorry I look like a city slicker here today. I gotta go back into the big city here right after this. But $3 billion of food are consumed in Louisville every year. $3 billion, David Grissom. That's a big money, big amount there. So the question is, you know, how can we increase the amount of food that comes from our region into Louisville? To me, it's like the early days of the internet. When you used this thing called the internet about 15 years ago, you knew it had a lot of potential, but it was kind of clunky. It didn't work really well. And that's what's going on in what I call the local food economy. Local food to me means when we can produce close enough to the point of consumption, in this case the city, so that we can get it there without having to truck food thousands of miles and burn up all types of unnecessary resources in the process. So there's been huge momentum when it comes to the consumption of local food in Louisville. Obviously, we all know about farmers markets, and they're growing like crazy in Louisville. CSAs are doubling probably. Sarah Fischer right here, our local food broker, in just this past year. Kentucky Proud, when it started appearing on the menus, Roger Thomas, when would that have been, about 5, 7 years ago? Now, if you don't have Kentucky Proud on your menu in Louisville restaurants, people are asking, where's the Kentucky Proud? Why don't you have it on there? So it's a must-have. And now there's restaurants in Louisville that all they serve is local food. Harvest just opened up on East Market Street, a farmer named Ivor Tchaikovsky. He's a farmer in Jefferson County. And these places are packed. And the food is great. It's better than stuff that's been frozen or trucked for 2 weeks or whatever it might be. So it's interesting from a business perspective, and Mr. Neville saw this before anybody else, that the market is huge and the demand is huge. Normally when you start a business, you're trying to convince people that they need to buy whatever it is that you're trying to sell. In this case, people are saying we need more of it, we need more variety, we need to be able to get it whenever we want to get it. So the question is, how can we figure this out to develop this distribution chain? So that's where people like David comes into play. Now hopefully government can help a little bit. Sometimes government gets in the way, and if they're doing that, they need to get out of the way. But what we're going to do in Louisville is we're creating something called life zones. Life zones. And that stands for Local Food Enterprise Zones. So some of y'all may know where Grasshoppers is in the shipping port area of Louisville. We're going to designate an area of Louisville to be the life zone so we can incent producers, processors, distributors, aggregators, marketers to all locate in one area that are working with local food. so we can generate the type of activity they can help each other. Buyers then know where to come so that they can buy and get more variety and more volume as well. So you'll be reading more about that. We're hoping that Secretary Thomas and the Agriculture Department here will help us out a little bit as well, because agriculture is not just for areas outside of the city. Obviously the city's a big part of that as well, and certainly that's where the consumers are, and there's great demand in Louisville for this. Now what we're trying to do in terms of the next step is break into the big users. For instance, Jefferson County Public School, 100,000 meals a day. University of Louisville, the hospitals, etc. This is where we got to get so we can get a good percentage of that $3 billion market. So we want to get that up into the hundreds of millions, $500 million a year of local food or so. That's going to take a little while, but the demand is there. So, just in closing, why is the market growing and why is it popular? Number one, people want to celebrate nutrition. We're at a point in our country right now where we've got problems relative to people not eating properly and not exercising properly, which leads to health problems. So people are recognizing that we need to do something about that. So it's nutrition, it's health, it's the environment, not only the global environment, but our local environment as well. There's economic reasons, but what I like about it too, this is neighbors helping neighbors. It's a family type of thing. When we're connected to the cycle of the earth and how that rotates, that's what we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years as people. We've gotten away from that over the last 50 to 100 years, and now people are returning to that as well. So to me, that's a healthy planet, that's a healthy state, that's a healthy region for us as well. So I'm just delighted to be here today and celebrate the 5th grand opening that David Neville's had here today. I don't know when the 6th is being, I'll be back for that too, I guess. But really thanks to everybody for reminding us what a great state we have, what a great region we have. Know that you got a friend in the mayor's office in Louisville, so any way I can help, I stand ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. I'm going to introduce our next speaker in just a minute, but I'm going to go around the room. Hopefully I don't forget anybody and introduce just a couple of people. All my staff, raise your hands up real quick. Right there, Miss Kate going to Western here a little bit, Melody and Darlene, and what was your name? You've been here for a little while. Phyllis and Carrie B and Miss Ginger and my mom and my favorite mother right there, Miss Margaret, my sister Linda and Haley, my niece, and Mr. Wendell Berry, everybody, and Lori, and those two girls, hey girls, giving out, hey, are y'all giving out ice cream? Miss Gracie, hold your hand up, and Miss Momo and their brother Jake. I tell you, working hard, aren't they? Yeah. Miss Lori, their mother, and those are John Logan's kids right there. Miss April, hold your hand up, Miss April. Emmy, hold your hand up. Where's Yaya and Hadley? They're around here somewhere. And there's a bunch of other folks in here. Sorry if I missed anybody. We'll introduce you. We had some guys from Kentucky Department of Agriculture over here. Hold your hands up, guys. So we really welcome everybody here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Derrick Robinson, who's with ValuMarket. Everybody says, how are you going to get buyers? I said, I'm going to just call Derrick, and Derrick is going to explain what I mean by that here.
Well, David definitely has great timing. I was sitting in my store, and I'd been talked to by a couple of people, including Sarah Fischer, and a couple of other people who told me about this auction that was going on in Henry County. And we had, ValuMarket had been making their way down 3 hours from Louisville down to Lincoln County to buy some product. And I was told about this auction. So I walked into the owner's office, and I said, listen, there's this auction in Henry County getting ready to start up. I think we need to go visit it, a lot closer to home. And I've heard it's going to have some great product. So I turn around, and walking up the steps is David. And he goes, hey fellas. He goes, I need to talk to you. So he sat down in mine and James's office, and he told us a little bit about what he was going to do. And I told him that day, I said, well, I'm going to come down and visit. So I came down to visit, and there was a few pallets there. And after the auction, I told him, I said, we're going to support you. I said, we're going to do everything that we can to support this going on. I said, as long as you tell me it's going to grow. And it's definitely grown. ValuMarket is a local hometown grocery store in Louisville. We have 4 stores in Louisville and 1 in Mount Washington, and we're getting ready to open another one. I shouldn't say we are getting ready to open. We are going to manage one across the street from an economic, diverse neighborhood. And so we're going to bring this hopefully in February. It's going to be called First Choice. And we're going to be bringing some of this produce to them. So ValuMarket has been a huge supporter of Kentucky Proud the whole time. But this right here is something different. This is something that can be picked that morning, come to the auction. I come and buy at the auction. I can have it back to my store by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I can have it for sale. I can have produce for sale in a supermarket in Louisville, Kentucky that has been picked that morning. That's amazing. And that's what Capstone Produce Auction has brought to us, and hopefully we can continue to support Capstone. Hopefully. We will continue to support Capstone Produce Market. Right now we're supplying, last year we supplied 1 store. Now we're starting to fill in 2 stores. Hopefully by the end of the year, it looks like with Watermelon Day, I'll be providing for all 5 stores today. But eventually, we're going to try to supply all 5 of our stores with fresh produce from, as David likes to put it, Henry County dirt. Thank you, David.
Derrick looked around, he said, I saw all these watermelons coming in, and Greg asked me too, when does the guys all get here? Well, they make me nervous, Greg, and I don't usually get nervous, but about 10 minutes till 11, and we always start promptly at 11, folks will be running over the top of you trying to get here. As a matter of fact, Gal Ryan's Farm is just bringing their big truck right down here right now. So I tried to train them, but I can't get them trained. All right, with that, we're going to introduce Miss Tamara Sandberg. Tamara is with the Kentucky Association of Food Banks. Greg, it takes a while to build stuff sometimes. We had talked even as much as 2 years ago about developing a market for some of our products that wouldn't go on Derrick's store shelves. Maybe they had a little blemish, they still tasted just as good, but maybe there were number 2s. And in the produce business, what holds a lot of folks up is that you got to cull so many product, or you throw it over the fence, or you feed it to the hogs, and not many people raise hogs anymore, right? So we tried to develop a market, secondary market for that. And I talked to some folks from Derrick last year, and then I get a call or an email, I think, from Miss Tamara Sandberg. And she didn't know that we had already been working on this and trying really hard, but she came to me and she says, we have a little program I'd like you to work on if you could. I'm gonna let her explain what the program is, but it's been really, really good. It's a really win-win situation for our farmers, for our market, and for consumers. And with that, Tamara?
Thanks. Yes, we agree. The program is just a win-win-win all around. There are 1 in 7 Kentuckians that don't know where their next meal is going to come from. For a number of reasons. They could have just lost a job. Many of them are struggling with medical issues, and they need emergency food assistance. And so, as you know, if you do the shopping for your household, it's much cheaper to buy junk than produce, unfortunately. So a lot of the low-income people in Kentucky are not getting access to adequate, nutritious, good, healthy produce. We have grants from, as a partnering member of the Roger Thomas Fan Club, the Kentucky Agricultural Development Fund gave us some grant funding, and Walmart Foundation matched it. And with those funds, we are able to purchase what Derrick doesn't want for the restaurants. It's perfectly edible, but might have minor blemishes. And we use those grant fundings to purchase it, and then it's distributed free of charge throughout Kentucky. So far this season, we've purchased about $6,000 worth of produce from Capstone Produce Market from 21 different producers, and we hope to at least, multiply that by 10 or so. And so we really are so grateful. We know that we are not a typical customer. We require a lot more handling, and I appreciate all the work that the ladies in the office do. And Sammy, thank you so much for getting us such great produce all the time. We just are thrilled to be partnering, and we look forward to much more produce coming through.